Bruce Prichard was talking with Conrad Thompson on Something to Wrestle with this week. And they were talking about the Macho Man. Ooh, yeah, Macho Man. And Elizabeth. And we've heard these stories a million times. Even on Something to Wrestle, we've heard these stories a million times. But this episode was on Miss Elizabeth. But during the conversation, they got to talking about how Randy got his start in his father's promotion, which was widely considered to be an outlaw territory in the Memphis area, where the Memphis territory was running strong. The Poffel family outlaw mud show promotion was running in the same area. And that got Bruce to talking about the what is a mud show, and how does that relate to the greater NWA, and what the exact organizational structure of the NWA was, and was there really any extra value to being in the NWA? Check out this clip.
But let's go back to the term, because I think some people don't really understand, what does outlaw promotion mean? I've always been of the mindset that wrestling back in the day was almost ran like the mafia. There were different territories, and the governing body of these quote unquote five families, if you will, to make up mafia references, the NWA. So if you ran opposed to an existing territory and didn't play by the rules, you were an outlaw promotion, or you weren't a member of the NWA, you were an outlaw promotion. Talk me through what the difference is.
Oh, no, an outlaw promotion is if you have a promotion and you have an established territory that you've been running for many years, where you have television and you've got a crew of guys going through there, and someone comes into your market, puts their television show on the air in your market, in your area, and then starts running shows. That's an outlaw promotion. That is what was viewed an outlaw promotion. Had nothing to do with the NWA and all that bullshit. The NWA was a crock of shit. I mean, when you really get down to it, man, it was a monopoly that just, they charged promoters to be able to put those three letters, say, hey, we're members of the NWA. Fritz was the president of the NWA when he realized that this is stupid.
Right.
I'll make my own world champion. And, I'm going to go with my kids and I'll make my own world champion. I'll have my own promotion. I don't need the NWA. Watts didn't need the NWA. Very few, you go up in California. Roy Shires was, like, what the fuck do I need an NWA champion for?
Right.
It's silly. But the NWA, had this thing, and it had the aura of being this governing body. They didn't govern shit. They didn't even make sure that their champion made the shows on, that they were advertised for. But by God, they wanted to get their points on whatever show you ran.
This was actually educational to me because I did not grow up in the NWA era. I grew up in the WWF Vince McMahon expansion era, where all the territories were shutting down. Obviously, I'm a well-studied, well-researched wrestling fan. I've seen all the documentaries, read books. I am aware of the territories pretty well. But something that I guess I never really had the bigger picture on was, what exactly was the point of even being in the NWA? What would you like? I guess I thought there was more to it than there actually was. And Bruce kind of just shit on it, which was fun. It was fun to listen to Bruce kind of shit on the NWA a little bit. Sounds like, other than just having rights to the NWA traveling champion and, in avoiding other people coming into your territory or something like that, like being considered an outlaw mud show too, or being ran out. Basically there was no point. You're just signing up to give away money, essentially, is what you're doing. Be part of the good old boys club. Now, I'm sure Bruce was kind of undervaluing it to a certain extent. I'm sure there were situations where it wasn't just the traveling NWA champion. I'm sure there were this was the network where promoters were reaching out to other promoters and trading talent and making deals with them. Now, certainly they could have did that same thing with the mud shows. And even if it wasn't an outlaw promotion, look at Vince McMahon left the NWA, Vince Sr. They were the WWF was an NWA territory at some point. I believe the AWA left the NWA territory at some point. Everybody just kind of broke off and said, fuck it. We'll start our own world champion, and worked out fine for a lot of them. But maybe some of the smaller promotions needed the association with the NWA. Hell, all the way up into the 2000s, all the way up till Billy Corgan bought the fucking thing, or when TNA had the NWA TNA, they were using the NWA stuff in TNA. NWA was still out there collecting dues from regional territories. I come from the Michigan, Wisconsin territorial era, and I know that there was NWA Wisconsin for quite a while. There was an association there, and then it just eventually dissolved because people are paying money for nothing, essentially, for the NWA letters and whatnot. Beyond that, like I said, I'm sure it would prevent like mafia in a way. You're paying your dues. It's going to avoid us coming for you. I imagine if you were an outlaw territory trying to work outside the NWA system, it was possible you could be pushed out of your territory, or wrestlers would be blackballed if they worked for you and things like that. I'm sure all of that kind of stuff happened amongst the territories, both NWA and outside the NWA. But it was a good little education. And look, I take everything Bruce says with a grain of salt. Like I said, I'm sure there were other little perks along the way other than the traveling NWA champion, but I never heard it put quite the way that Bruce did, where it's just like, who gives a shit? So I thought that was a fun little thing to share because it educated me. So maybe that'll, because I think, we've seen so many documentaries and stories told about how the territories were ran back in the day. And I think, and then you hear about the outlaw shows and it just kind of wonders what's the difference and why does it even matter? Well, kind of laid it out for you there. Bruce laid it out on Something to Wrestle. That was the one thing I kind of wanted to cherry pick from this. He had a lot of other great stuff about Liz and Mach, but it's all stuff we've heard before. There's nothing groundbreaking in there or anything particularly newsworthy. Just a good, fun little episode if you are a fan of Miss Elizabeth and really the Macho Man as well, because they basically talked about his whole career in the WWE again, just from Liz's angle instead of Mach's.
Oh yeah, thanks for checking out the video. Yeah, don't forget to subscribe, don't forget to like it if you liked it. Yeah, and you can check out full episodes each and every Sunday right here on the channel. Oh yeah, dig it.